Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Fucking people want the Monday Night Wars so bad. For some of you you never got to live it, and every chance we get here that WWE has to go ahead and get part into this and just say, okay, AEW is getting into our turf, our territory. It's like the mafia here, okay? WWE is like, hey, yo, oh, they're gonna come and do a show on our turf. They're gonna go ahead and do a show on our ground on Tuesdays. You, Tony D'Angelo, Stacks, you need to go do something about that. You need to go and whack those people. You need to go whack Tony Khan. I want his family gone. I want that show gone. Like, what do you want? And then, of course, the audacity of the fans out there, the WWE bubble, right? Plus all those that are out there that, you know, AEW has to also get caught up in this, that were probably the bitter WWE fans that became AEW loyalists. Like all that shit right there, I don't care about at all. But it is fascinating that I get to talk for 60 minutes or so about this shit here. A tale of two different Tuesdays. Okay, the important part that everybody wants to care about. No matter what it is, it's, you know, it's a dick swinging contest at the end of the day. So the numbers as they put it as of last night, NXT pulled, it says 921,000 live viewers on USA Network for Tuesday night. And Dynamite pulls 609,000 viewers. Now, let's put this point across. Let's make sure we know that WWE already has Tuesday nights on their own, right? It was NXT used to be on Wednesday nights, and then they moved it. That was because the USA Network just chose to go and do that. Because of the way that things were going on with programming, they decided to make that change. And I was like, after NBC Sports Network was dropped, because USA was going to have to start covering sports. So they took Wednesdays back and pushed NXT to Tuesday night. Got it. With Dynamite, they've been on Wednesdays the whole time. And by the way, they moved from TNT to TBS to get away from the constant preemptions that they were going through with the NBA playoffs and with March Madness. To go on to Dynamite and have it on TBS, where they have more chances to stay on Wednesday nights than normal. Okay. And when they did that, they only have to worry about the MLB playoffs being in the way of a couple of weeks of programming. That's it. I mean, when you look at the programming, a rare time that AEW has to go and move their programming over to Tuesday night because of the Major League Baseball playoffs. Got it. So they did that. Now, the demographic, there wasn't much of a difference in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is what the cable companies and also just advertisers in general, that's what they care about, is that particular demographic. So it didn't drop much, right? Now, as for NXT, and with what they did, bringing out a lot of major stars, their 18 to 49 demographic did go up a lot. But you brought in Cody Rhodes, John Cena, Asuka, LA Knight, Undertaker, and we had an appearance by Jake Cargill to add on top of that. Not to mention the other stars they bring in. You get a package on Becky Lynch. You get Baron Corbin out there. You know, it's all of that. For NXT, it was a lot of appearances, not so much wrestling. Now, NXT did a little bit of what they normally would do. They did have a first round match of their breakout tournament for the women, right? And the other matches going on. But WWE decided to go the old Monday Night Wars playbook. They actually dusted it off. They thought, damn it, we're going after Monday Nitro. And by the way, I don't want to go ahead and try to say that Tony Khan was trying to get himself caught up in something where he was trying to go ahead and be like Eric Bischoff. See, Tony Khan is not Eric Bischoff. Stop trying to make him that. Please stop doing that. He is not Eric Bischoff. This is not World Championship Wrestling. Ted Turner does not own this company. The Khans do. But WWE can't help themselves. This big entity, this Goliath, this Leviathan, that's owned by TKO Properties. Okay. WWE doesn't even need to go down and punch down on AEW. They are the consummate number 2 company, bar none. Now, there are a couple of things that AEW has done so far this year that can be commendable. And if you want to look at the competition sense, yeah, okay. And their audience is pretty consistent. Wednesday nights, they added the extra night of Collision on Saturday nights. But, they sway away from any WWE programming, as well as any pay-per-views. I mean, Collision now goes up against pay-per-views, but that's the night they're going to run. What else do they want? And it was TNT and David Zasloff of Warner Brothers Discovery that offered them the slot. What are they going to say? Their partners wanted more programming, so they put it there. So, okay, you're going to be upset that they go up against premium live events? No. I mean, they're already going in a rough spot because they're also going up against college football. In the same way, Monday Night Raw has to go up against Monday Night Football. So we get this here, and it's like, okay. You start doing the last minute promotion on Raw and SmackDown to really build up the fact that, oh, look at this. We need to go ahead and supersize NXT with nothing that has to do with NXT. This is not, we didn't do an NXT pay-per-view, okay? We didn't get a Great American Bash or Halloween Havoc or something like that, right? No. We got all these main roster stars coming over. Now, except for Asuka, it was only Asuka out of the group that we just mentioned, and we didn't mention Paul Heyman. That all came out for NXT. The Raw playbook, the old Monday Night Raw playbook, okay? Just really dust it off, crack open that book, because we didn't have the internet really so prominent as it is now. But you go ahead and pull up, I don't know, this is like 1997. Okay, Eric Bischoff doesn't do the 7:57 start time for Nitro like you did back in the day. Like you would start the show early. That was just to get at Vince McMahon. It was a personal vendetta. I don't see Tony Khan having that. Tony Khan's program was a run-of-the-mill Dynamite, and actually an extra special Dynamite because he really packed it up with title matches. And he paid off on some of them. Okay. I mean, the pacing of Dynamite was like a pay-per-view. It was like Grand Slam a couple weeks ago. That's what he gave us. You're going to ask me which show I like better. It's Dynamite. And it's nothing against NXT. It's just NXT's a different show. And what they did with NXT last night, no surprise, let's do a 15-minute segment to build up the main event or to build up the 9 o'clock match. Right, Insta match, build it up. Here comes John Cena. Right, here comes Cody Rhodes. Here comes John Cena, and here comes LA Knight and Dom. Also, we forgot Dominic Mysterio on Judgment Day also being out there. We didn't even mention that, but they've already been out there. So Trick Williams, Dominic, they set up a NXT title match the next hour. Insta match. You throw a championship match, just throw it on. No planning. And I'll tell you, that was one of the things that why NXT did not pull over 1 million viewers. You didn't set up matches that were going to be to the point of, like, if you would have mentioned the week before, Trick Williams versus Dominic Mysterio, winner take all, or title versus title, and you would have mentioned John Cena in the corner of, John Cena and Paul Heyman were for the other match. It was Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker. But still, LA Knight, special guest referee. You mentioned that? Done. They mentioned Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, and they didn't mention I guess, Cena and Heyman in their corners. But if you would have mentioned that NXT title match, that would have gotten over 1 million viewers. Probably would have gotten enough because you would have put a title match on the line. But they didn't do that. Let's just put all these stars on here and give them something to do. That's what they did. Meanwhile, Dynamite didn't do that. They went off and did something else. A different feel to it, which was good. I got no problem with that. Dynamite just gave us a different show. Title Tuesday was set up well. You get Hikaru Shida becoming Women's World Champion again, taking the belt off of Saraya. Orange Cassidy retaining and becoming once again International Champion. Amen. That's good stuff. And by the way, Orange Cassidy being brought in and during 0 hour. See, no 757. Tony Khan does what he did the last time the Tuesday night wars happened like this before. Took the 0 hour, dropped the title match on there. Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki. Great. People are happy about that. 30 minutes before, you put that on YouTube. So people are already getting all amped up about it. And then he announced that Orange Cassidy has to come in for Jon Moxley because he had to scratch Jon Moxley. He's not medically cleared. Give us that match at the top. Orange Cassidy wins. It was planned. It was set up. Great. Love it. And then we had Adam Copeland, Luchasaurus at the end. Fine. We had a whole lot of stuff that was still being set up for other matches, whether it was Collision or whether it was, next week. The purpose of Dynamite was we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Tony Khan and AEW stayed in their lane. They stayed in their lane. They didn't worry about what was this big, shiny 500-pound gorilla in front of them. It didn't matter. They programmed the show as if it would have been a standalone with them on Tuesday nights. Do you understand, fans? My fellow wrestling podcasters, do you understand that what Tony Khan did programming AEW for Tuesday night was he gave a show that he would have done if NXT or Raw or SmackDown were up against them at the same time slot. Now, what they probably did to build up momentum for the show did a couple of things. They did do this. They did give us the half-hour, 0 hour YouTube broadcast. What they also did was they added a 30-minute commercial-free block, which NXT did as well. As a matter of fact, NXT went to commercial first, and for the credit, Dynamite didn't even go to commercial break until what, 8:45? 8:45? He waited a long time for commercials. And even then, put their picture-in-picture breaks in as well. And then he added the overrun. A 15-minute overrun scheduled. By the way, it was a scheduled 15-minute overrun. If you look on the listings, they actually put the time as 10:15. So it wasn't one of those overruns that NXT does where it's like, okay, you don't know when it's going to stop. It wasn't that. It was a planned overrun. And that was it. I'll tell you what, that was fine with me. What AEW did last night gave us a solid show. They went match after match after match with a couple different things they did that were cool and interesting when it comes to the Adam Cole Roderick Strong Saga and Timeless Tony Storm doing silent movies. I love it. It's fantastic. And Don Callis also in a segment where they decided to do the Sammy Guevara, placards like they used to back in the day. And instead here, they said, no, we're going to do something different. We're going to just do this a little different. Like Tony Khan did pay attention to the fact that the audience was going to be where it was for Tuesday night. So it wasn't like he completely did not take NXT's supersized program into consideration. But his match format, the show, he did not hotshot anything. But WWE likes the hotshot. They hotshotted a championship match. That's Eric Bischoff shit. This is also when Vince would do that kind of stuff. They would hotshot stuff. And I don't like that was fun back in the days because we didn't have, it would be one of those things where we didn't have, any plans of what could be going on and knowing what was going to be announced the previous week. In the Attitude Era, we enjoyed hotshot booking because it happened a lot. Because there was so many stars on both brands, they could just go ahead and run roughshod and run through storylines and run through feuds like they wanted to because they could hotshot book. But neither program can do that now. Neither brand can do that right now. So we don't need hotshot booking in 2023. That is a lost cause. It's 25 years old. We don't need that anymore. Both brands should not do it. And WWE should stop it. It's petty. They punched down last night. Do you understand? We don't have to go ahead and argue about the fact of which company's bigger. We know, all wrestling fans know, that WWE is the bigger company. And if they want to put all their guns in one place, yeah, they have the guns, they have the wherewithal, they have the power, they also have the programming, they have the time slot. They had everything that could go for them their way. Stacking the odds. Sure, John Cena just happens to be around right now because the strikes are still not done yet. So he's there working. God bless him. You bring up Paul Heyman, hey, get him on an extra night. You got Judgment Day already there. And Becky Lynch, which have already been boosting up viewership for that show anyway. By the way, when you look at what NXT did compared to the nights before, okay? If you want to look at that, what their audience was, they only went up, 65,000 viewers. They were already pulling big numbers already. So, like, the extra firepower for NXT, if we're just looking at NXT in its own scope, in its own path, with no Dynamite to speak of, do you want to say there's some crossover with both brands, that one show that their fans were mixed and they split the audience? Do you want to say that? That's the part I got to figure out. Because no matter what, whatever competition that WWE is going to have, is they only pulled an extra 65,000 viewers. They pulled 900,000 for NXT, which is a huge number for them. But still, you do that. And Cody Rhodes coming in. By the way, everything premeditated. Hot shotting. You put Cody Rhodes on first, AEW, right? You think AEW, oh, look, Cody's over here. You think people are going to be confused. It's like they're watching Dynamite. They're like, oh, Cody's on here. Where did he come back? Where did he come back? No, they did that on purpose. So Cody comes out, does his whole, what are you going to talk about? 15-minute, long-winded, Raw-style promo of the Attitude Era. That's the old playbook. So Shawn Michaels is running the pencil right down there. 15-minute promo off the top. When it get to a match till about 20 after. Meanwhile, AEW is already in their second match. They're just moving and grooving. Didn't matter. It didn't matter to them. And by the first hour, we already had like 4 or 5 matches. We had segments. We had everything across the board. And good, compelling matches across the board as well. They were just kicking ass. Matches had reasons, and they were just furthering storylines. Like Tony Khan puts matches on that are going to further storylines for the most part. He's not throwing matches on just to throw matches. Rampage is really for that. But Dynamite and Collision, no. They're moving somewhere with those. They did not deviate from the plan. But the WWE, when they are threatened, let me make sure I say that word, not intimidated, threatened. They were threatened by having AEW on their night in their time slot. There was no choice. They're not going to preempt the program altogether and just not run it. They're going to have it. They just had to do something. What other night could they put it on? Except for Wednesday. Move it to Thursday? No. Tuesday was the right night for them. They did it. That's what they've done it before. Fine. On a rare occasion, they had to go to Tuesday nights. So they did. And some of the major stars you have here, plus an overrun with The Undertaker. The Undertaker. And you couldn't put a million viewers in. I don't know if that's going to include the overrun of what they have here of this time slot that they put for 8 to 10. I don't know if that includes it. But they should have gotten 1 million viewers. I mean, they should have gotten more than 1 million viewers. And that's for Dynamite getting 600,000. Yeah, that's about right. If I wanted to look back to see where Dynamite had to go and work different nights and come in and work their way to go and get an audience, yeah, they probably pull that much, 600, 700,000. You know, they take a dip, 25% dip, and they did. For WWE, they have bigger problems. We've already been talking about that on a regular basis on this program. Okay, I'm already getting to the point where it's time to start ranting again, because SummerSlam and all the glory and all the pomp and circumstance, that the bloodline and the real heat of the Judgment Day, you know, once the Judgment Day got all that gold, tag titles, Money in the Bank briefcase, Rhea wins the women's title, women's world title, and then Dominic is North American champion on NXT. Yeah, all that gold. Okay, they got everything. They're no longer chasing. They're in domination. But the Judgment Day, unfortunately, you know, they're not doing anything to book them into anything where, you know, you can do things to go ahead and continue the issues between them, which he's done a little bit of that with JD McDonough. It doesn't work. Adding JD McDonough into the mix and then a little bit of infighting, no. JD McDonough is a squeaky wheel. He doesn't fit here. And they really haven't gone anywhere with him to where he's done anything to pay off like some kind of screw job. But I'm not surprised that the Judgment Day has an outsider coming into the mix. The Bloodline did so well with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's a different kind of wrestler, a different character altogether. He made the Bloodline that much more. He did. Like, really, the Bloodline was so great already, but Sami Zayn added that extra fire. Like, he really did put that over the top. Like, the 9 months we had him in storyline as the honorary Uso made it. Memorable moments, memorable everything, and a great storyline. They're trying to do this now with JD McDonough. It doesn't work. JD McDonough is trying to give advice. He's like this schmuck that's out there. Look, I know he's a good wrestler. Got it. I got it. But you bring him in here, you think he's going to try to build something off of here, and then, you know, he gets pounded down all the time when he tries to intervene. Like, it doesn't work. I know you're trying to use that same formula. It does not work. He is not the guy to put into this mix. You have plenty of other people you can bring into the Judgment Day, and then you do this part where on TV, Rhea now is trying to get themselves up with the Bloodline. But if my mind serves me correctly, we already had the Bloodline and Judgment Day try to work together, and it fizzled. They were already at odds with each other. So Rhea all of a sudden comes in now and wants to create this. And by the way, Edge was not even a part of it. It was after Edge was gone. Where the Bloodline, Paul Heyman in particular, hired Judgment Day. Remember? So this idea of working together, now we're completely just throwing out the logic of the original storyline. Judgment Day were for hire. A weakened Bloodline because we don't see Jey Uso out there. So Jimmy Solo trying to do the best they can at it. And Paul Heyman out there with no Roman Reigns. And now Judgment Day wants to come back and let's build a partnership. I'm shaking my head here. I don't get it. The same thing where they're trying to go ahead and give logic out of Cody and Jey Uso working together. Yeah, now they're tag team champions. So we're going to get two peas in a pod and like put them together. These two odds making an even, right? Put them together. Like it's like trying to create some kind of a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn kind of scenario. It doesn't work either. And these are the breakdowns of storyline that really piss me off. Because this is the part where, like, you could have just kept things going or just go somewhere else. See, the Bloodline and not having it out there in full force, then give it a break. Give it a break. But quit trying to go and use the Bloodline to kind of just continue to further the course. You could have just had Jay and Jimmy at odds with each other. and they have their alliances. That's it. Like, that could have been SmackDown for the next couple of months. I am repeating myself. I am a broken record. I am saying what I said last week. So we could have gone that again. And that would have been fine. But no, we don't want to do that. No. Instead of trying to right the ship, they're doing things what they're doing right now with what they did with Fastlane. Cody and Jay become champs. Great. Meanwhile, Seth is still dealing with Shinsuke Nakamura, which is nothing compared to what Seth and Finn Balor was. I mean, for me, I don't like the fact that I've not seen Damian Priest be able to go ahead and cash the briefcase in, or even just do the attempt. They did try to do that before, and Dominic's still involved. Why? Or whatever. So Damian Priest is still sticking there with that Money in the Bank briefcase and doesn't use it at all. And there's nobody else for Seth to go after it. So giving him Shinsuke Nakamura in the meantime was another direction I don't understand. It was just a complete, let's just go off the tangent. You can't give Seth and Cody. We're not going to get Seth and Drew. Okay. And Drew's back now, and they're trying to go ahead and repurpose him, make him a heel, or more or less a heel again. Okay. Doesn't make much of a difference for me either in that respect. But that's what they decided to do. I don't like any of that stuff at all. They're just breaking down storylines just to break them down. And there's just the logic of the long-term storylines are broken. All this long-term storytelling that we were getting. It's like Rob Fee took the summer off, or no, took in the fall off. And then when you don't give us good storylines, good long, detailed, passionate, emotionally driven storylines, once you don't give us that anymore, okay? Like the other part that they did with Michael Cole talking to Cody Rhodes out in the ring. Bring up the fact that he hasn't done what his daddy did and won the world title. Why are we bringing that up right now when Roman's still out? We're not getting Cody and Roman. We're not getting it at all. And instead, the bloodline's done with Cena. If you're going to have John Cena come back, then have him go after Seth. Or somebody, I don't know. But Seth is the face. There has to be somebody else you got to build up as a heel that can go up against Seth. You decide to go ahead and shine up Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, they've tried with that feud. I'm not into it. It doesn't do me any good. It just doesn't feel like anything there at all. And nothing really further the storylines with NXT. I mean, there wasn't. I mean, when I try to look at what they did and what they decided to do overall with both shows, if I look at what NXT did and what they decided to do, when you look at what they did overall for the night, you get Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. A rematch we've seen of a rematch of a rematch with no title on the line. And Braun Breaker going in some direction I don't understand anymore. Also, I don't get the Brian Pillman Jr. gimmick. What they're trying to go with him either. Doesn't make sense to me either. I don't get it. I don't like it. So I'm sorry, Dominic and Ilya. Why did I say Trick? Ilya Dragunov, because I forgot Ilya won the belt. Right. So Ilya and Dominic win their match. Got it. And then Asuka beats Roxanne Perez. Why? Like, why do we bring Asuka out here to take out Roxanne Perez? So, to me, it's a bury. You buried her. For what? And then you go ahead and bring in Shotzi and Kiana James to be part of the whole thing here. But, again, Roxanne Perez, not in the title picture. She's not doing anything right now. She gets this feature match with Asuka. That's good for her, but glorified squash. Asuka wins. Done. There you go. A long pub rules match. Didn't care. Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, which we already know now the backstory of them. That's great. Tiffany Stratton, nowhere to be part of that whole title mix now. So Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez, two former champions with nothing to do. Nothing to do. So why are we keeping them down at NXT? Why don't we go ahead and move up and say, let's get them at the main roster if you're going to do something with that. If you're not going to need anything to do with them right now in NXT. And Tiffany Stratton's been out there for a long time. And Roxanne Perez, she was already ready to go before. Roxanne could have gone main roster. I don't think it would have been a problem. But she's already gotten the polish here. Put her up there. Put her on that main roster already. Especially for women's divisions kind of getting bland anyway. It's just kind of stalling us and really stagnant. We decided for the most part. Let's just look at Becky and Trish for a long time in their feud setting up. Bianca's out. So what else you got? Oh, Bianca's over on SmackDown. Right. And Rhea, who she had as opponents. Now we're going to get Shayna Baszler, I guess, back up against her. Like they're kind of setting that up. Okay. They brought back Nia Jax, and that hasn't done anything good. Cody is the one-time general manager of the matchmaker, basically, of NXT. They set that up. But what do we do to kind of further the course? I mean, Dominic taking a loss to Dragunov, who's NXT champion, that don't make much of a difference. By the way, a lot of plunder as well with Trick Williams coming into the match. That's why I thought about him. I don't know why. And, Plunder comes in for both. LA Knight also gets in there and does work on top of that as well. It's like, okay, it's all plunder. And Ilya continues to hold the belt. They just decided to put the match out there just to put it out there. Done. And then Baron Corbin and Dijak, they're trying to set that up. Okay, but that's nothing special. I'm not really excited by that. And Braun and Carmelo, which this is kind of like the blowing off a feud. Which they decided to reheat for one night for this show. Now, one of the things they tried to put out here for Braun Breaker was Paul Heyman talking to him, saying, I work with your father and uncle. You have the best both had to offer. I see the future. The future is Braun Breaker and the main event of WrestleMania. The only thing standing in your way is Carmelo Hayes, which is just like a one-off promo just to go ahead and build up Braun Breaker. Okay, great. And then Carmelo Hayes wins. 3 stars right now on NXT. And, if you were to put them over to the main roster right now, they're all kind of taking a bit of a dive right now on the way out. Because Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, and Braun Breaker, you can go ahead and move them to the main roster eventually at any time. You're not going to get much better out of them in NXT as it is. You've already given them all that they could possibly have in terms of, leverage and capital and, presence. So now you move them up to that main roster and it's done. But they're kind of like feeling like losing on the way out. Like the thing is, you're just not doing anything with them right now. And NXT not furthering further storylines. Okay, we get a battle royal. Okay, got that for next week, sure. But where's storylines that really build up? Oh, the Chase University stuff with Thea Hale and JC Jane? No. I mean, you look at what they did. Antonio Stacks are tag champs, so they set up the 10 men over the top battle royal for next week, just to set up for Halloween Havoc. Okay, so you build up one match for their upcoming special night of programming with Halloween Havoc in a couple weeks. That's what you got. But they're not furthering storylines. We're not building up feuds. Nothing extra special or spectacular. Nothing. Meanwhile, Dynamite gives you a different story. Because with Dynamite, we actually only did storyline build throughout the whole effing night. The whole fucking night. So here's what you got for Dynamite to set things up for all the things they're doing right now. They're leading up to Full Gear. And they're just continuing to build matches to go towards shows, whether it's Collision or Rampage or the next week's Dynamite. And they promoted a whole lot. They basically booked the entire show leading up to. I think the only match we didn't see that was in there was another Wardlow match. But really, everything they put in here, they stacked it up, showed you what they were going to do across the board. No surprises. Two world title matches, plus a Ring of Honor world title match, and a number one contenders match, along with some other significant build-ups for feuds for future matches. So they did that. So Eddie Kingston retained the Ring of Honor world title. And then moving along, Bryan Danielson, Swerve Strickland to start off the night. And a wonderful match. And building this up because we already know that Swerve Strickland is being built up right now. He's got his issue with Adam Page, issue with Darby Allin, and they're definitely pushing Swerve Strickland up and up the card. And Hangman Adam Page came out and interfered in the match with Danielson. But Danielson again, strong match and a great match for those guys. Then you go to Jericho and Powerhouse Hobbs, which this is a new thing to me because I didn't know Powerhouse Hobbs now has joined the Don Callis family. And I forget if they already had added that part, but yeah. It's the ongoing Don Callis family against Chris Jericho. And by the way, Chris Jericho, with no one out there with him, he's on his own. And Powerhouse Hobbs, like, talk about Don Callis family, building a damn roster. That's a hell of a roster. With Takeshita, Guevara, Ospreay, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Damn. They don't need much else. That's a hell of a group. A bunch of different wrestlers you got in there of various skills and acumen. Excellent. Love it. So Jericho loses here. Don Callis family continues to be overpowering and dominating all across the board. And Powerhouse Hobbs matching up with the Don Callis family works. Works great. Then you get the switch over of Jon Moxley that was going to go into the IC title, or the international title, right? But the fact that we put Orange Cassidy in and decided to let Orange Cassidy have his rematch, hey, you set it up. You had a good logical way to go ahead and makeshift the match, because if you couldn't have Jon Moxley out there, former international champion, go up against Rey Fenix, okay, then let's go do this. But for whatever reason, they went back to Orange Cassidy, which is fine. For him to go and win the belt back, I think there's a little bit of remorse for the fact that Orange Cassidy not having that belt. There was something to be said about him being out there, because he still does pull numbers, pull ratings, and he still does really well when he's champ. So to get him back on there, I liked it. He made that belt, legitimized it, and now we got it here. And Phoenix and Moxley are banged up. So they decided to go back into putting him back in the IC title, or the international title, and just have him keep going after opponents, which I love that. It's good. Then we get the silent films with Lover's Lament and Tony Storm. This shit is hilarious. I love it. Now, I'm looking for a Bleacher Report review. Yeah, the women's division is not getting a whole lot of play over on Dynamite. They do get a little bit more on Collision. Like, you can see that. They did the sort, you see more Sky Blue and Julia Hart and Willow Nightingale. And eventually Thunder Rosa will be back over there. Like, the women are going to get a lot of time over there. Britt Baker. Like, that's where you're going to see it. But, I mean, they still putting women's matches across the board. Maybe you're not going to see as much. But remember, you always got a women's match on Rampage. You always got at least one on Dynamite, and then you just got one or two over on Collision. They're doing it. They're trying to do something, man. I give them the credit. Then Wardlow and Matt Sydal, you set that up. And then you have the Hangman Page Jay White match. Also, very good match. And then we set up a long promo battle with MJF, who already was wanting to go ahead and come back and grab the belt, the Triple B back from Jay White. Great. And those two back and forth. Jay White holding the belt really pisses people off. I love that too. Like, Jay White really feels like a prick. And I love the storyline where MJF is calling out Jay White and basically saying, yeah, dude, you're doing the same thing I did with the Pinnacle, right? And what I did with the Inner Circle. You're doing the same shit, using them. And or the Firm. It's the same shit. He's right. And Jay White now being called out for his shit, and Jay White just looking like a douchebag out there. But I mean, no matter that, I'm looking forward to MJF Jay White. That's going to be a damn good match. Full Gear. They've already set it up last week. They follow up on that again. So that is a match coming up at Full Gear in about a month. Awesome. And then you set up where Bullet Club Gold is going to be infiltrated into the Dynamite Battle Royal, which now we're at the point where MJF has to go back out there and he has to take on the winner of that Battle Royal to put up the ring. So, like, Bullet Club Gold wants to take everything that he's got. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. And meanwhile, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, you're still using Adam Cole in some way, shape, or form, and the Roderick Strong storyline continues. I love it. Divide and conquer. I love that all together. And then you had Adam Page come back out, and his right knee got all banged up. Everything working good. So Swerve and Adam Page are still going to be an issue right now. And some people might have gotten an issue where Saraya, oh, look, she won the belt at Wembley because she's British. And then Hikaru Shida takes the belt back. Okay. I mean, yeah, you could say that. I mean, I don't think I get much with Saraya here. Hold on to the belt right now and seeing her going up and against all takers. I think it's fine for her to go and get the belt. But I think right now, working against Toni Storm is the match we want to see. Like, we want to see Toni Storm going after Saraya. Or Saraya. I want that. Because that is the part we want to see as a featured match anyway. Also, a great meme I saw where you saw Bryan Danielson unable to compete, and he's in AEW competing. Saraya unable to compete, but competing in WWE, or should be in AEW. And then Edge unable to compete and competing in AEW. Very good. I forget who it was that put it out there, but very good stuff. And then Adam Copeland, Luchasaurus. Let me tell you, storyline is fire. I love this way because, first of all, Christian Cage. There was one thing for Christian Cage to be the instant classic back in TNA. This is just another level of diabolical Christian Cage. Was like, I don't know where Jungle Boy's been, where Jack Perry's been, but I'd like to see him back somewhere. Especially because he was a heel, and then like it just dropped it off. But Christian Cage, and it's settled with Nick Wayne. By the way, Nick Wayne being very well utilized in this feud. I love it. So Adam Copeland and Luchasaurus, they set that up. And Christian Cage just, I mean, the promo cutting that he put up before we got to everything, like I even got to go back to that real quick because honestly, that was so damn good. Where Christian Cage really was going attacking, like the level of vitriol that was going on before the match with Luchasaurus, like that shit was wild. It was wonderful. I love it. So we're going to go ahead and play a clip real quick. I want to go ahead and play when he was going back and attacking Beth Phoenix and the shit he's pulling off. Like, what a scumbag, but really well done.
But I can't say I blame you for being a fan, Adam. I have a lot of fans around the world. In fact, I know your wife, Beth, is a huge fan. And you know what? I'm already getting bored of this, so I think I'm going to go ahead and have my right hand of destruction end you right here once and for all. But take solace in the fact that your little girls, Lyric and Ruby, will be well taken care of. Hey, Beth, I know you're out there listening. Put a clean... Keep it down! Put some clean sheets on the bed, because your new father is coming home, girls.
I love that shit. Christian Cage, and this is the thing that's got to be said too. Christian Cage was made a more formidable, important main event figure in TNA. But to see Adam Copeland and Christian Cage together as equals, okay? It is true. You can't deny it. Edge and Christian were not equals in the WWE, okay? As tag team champions, you already know. Who's the Shawn Michaels? Who's the Marty Jannetty? Edge was Shawn, and Christian was the Marty. That's it. What was that? So right here, the Christian Cage stuff right now, this shit is gold. It's so damn good. And these guys still got it, man. They still rocking it. That's all there is to it. This feud right here, we never got this feud. It's personal, where they get the work. And by the way, they're creating it on their own. Like, you could tell those guys are working on their own. Who knows what other input they're getting, but like, give these two like a nice long feud. Shit. Nick Wayne gets involved in this. Love it. Luchasaurus is involved in it. Wonderful. You want to bring back Jack Perry into the mix? I'm game with that. I love to see Jack Perry try to go and grovel his way back into this, because now he's a heel. He's part of one of them. I'd love to see if they can put that back in there somewhere. Some way. But I love the whole storyline with Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. And we can set that up over at Full Gear. We can set up a Revolution. Whatever you want. But it's going to be like, what is it going to take for Adam Copeland and Christian Cage to be in the same ring together? Eventually. Because Adam Copeland has to go after that TNT title now. We know that part. We know that as much. But where do we go with that next? And where do we get there? How do we get there? It's the question. I don't blame WWE for what they did. Deciding to go ahead and hot shot book the NXT show last night because they were threatened by AEW. I got it. Wasn't necessary. But it's also like, if they're going to go in, they're going to go in real guns a-blazing. Like, they're going to go scorched earth. Like, bring in all the cavalry. But then you're diminishing the fact of Raw and SmackDown and their importance for that. Okay. But they were all just appearances. Like, you didn't have John Cena in a match. You didn't have LA Knight in a match. You didn't have Cody Rhodes in a match. And Undertaker was not going to come out there to wrestle. Yeah, nice. Go ahead and get him give Braun Breaker the choke slam from hell. All right, whatever. But other than that, they decided to go this route and do this. And it's like, oh, super high NXT ratings. It's Black and Gold 2019 ratings, by the way. Highest total viewership since September 25th, 2019. Best key demo rating since October 2nd, 2019. Yeah. The Black and Gold 2019 NXT. The one that was going up until Dynamite came into play, remember? Keep that in mind, too. October 2nd, 2019. So that was the week before. Wasn't that the week before Dynamite came on the air? Yeah, they got that big monster rating to try to build things up in anticipation for the head-to-head feud with Dynamite. And remember, NXT moved nights to go up against them. Or actually, no, NXT was moved over onto Wednesday nights off the network to put it there. And how ironic that a lot of those stars that were over on the NXT brand, the black and white, they're on an AEW now. Very ironic for that. But that's what they decided to do. All right. So there's a few other things we can bring up before we go and wrap things up. One of the reports we're hearing about that everybody's all up and at, which I didn't think was much of a difference at all if he even made it over, was CM Punk. Because there were conflicting reports that CM Punk and WWE were in talks to see him make a return. That happened after I got off the air with the program last week. Fightful comes out with a story, and Wrestling Observer Radio also followed up with it. A story on Tuesday with WWE talent and a higher-up denied any talks happening between CM Punk and WWE. And Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted WWE has turned down bringing back CM Punk for now. So we can quash that rumor right there. We're not even going to worry about that part. And now, one other thing I want to also bring up that I just think was really wonderful. Mark your calendars. December 22nd. That's where we're going to see the opening night, of which yours truly, King of Podcasts, will be at, because, of course, I'm a movie goer. I got my subscription pass for the Iron Claw. The story of the Von Erichs. This movie looks incredible. An A24 director movie, produced movie. This shit is wild. All right. And I'm looking at the cast here where you see Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White from Shameless. These guys look amazing here. And I love how they're going to go and work this out. I mean, when you look at the authenticity of what this movie looks like coming up, it looks amazing. So check out the trailer. I'm going to play it for you right now.
Ever since I was a child, people said my family was cursed. Mom tried to protect us with God. Pop tried to protect us with wrestling. He said if we were the toughest, the strongest, nothing could ever hurt us. I believed him. We all did.
I'm only going to play that part because I know if I play any of the music that's going on here, YouTube's just going to just shut it down, as they always do. But in the story they show here, like the people they bring as characters, Zac Efron playing Kevin Von Erich looks like him. And like the setup of everything they do over here. And also, the one guy I really noticed in here that looks really good is whoever they got playing Fritz Von Erich. Holt McCallany, awesome. They're also going to have characters that are going to be Ric Flair and Harley Race going to be part in the movie. This shit looks wild. It looks like such a good movie. And I mean, I can imagine it'll be emotional. It's going to be really set up a thing. I saw Marshall Von Erich, one of the sons of Kevin Von Erich, right? He did make a point that the movie was not with any of the input of his father, Kevin. So they're going to say it's not going to be 100% accurate, but they did a really good job of how the movie looks. And, it really believes that the Von Erichs are going to be really looked upon in a higher light after this movie's done. So December 22nd, it's going to come out nationwide at theaters. Really good stuff. And a good cast. Like when they were planning to do this movie, I was really excited about it. And I thought, if they're going to do this here, it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, one more thing I got to bring up before we wrap things up. I haven't talked much about it, and it's unfortunate, but next week we got to talk about Bound for Glory. It's coming up next week, the 21st, and at least they're putting on a Saturday. Thank you for that, Impact Wrestling. Thank you so much. And then also, we have MLW's Slaughterhouse coming up this weekend, this Saturday. I'll bring up the matches. I'll do little preview predictions for that if I can get a chance to watch it before. But the problem is all these damn college football games, man. I got to watch football this weekend. It's going to be tough, but I'll do my best to watch. I'll do my best. So in the meantime, packed card for Bound for Glory next week. Chicago, Cicero Stadium. A Call Your Shot gauntlet match. So remember that's the gauntlet match. That is to get your Call Your Shot. That gets your Money in the Bank briefcase type thing for whatever title you want to go after. So they got to set up the competitors for that coming up. Rascals back together to go up against ABC for the World Tag Team titles. Love that. MK Ultra against Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts Tag Team titles. A Monsters Ball we now have set up with PCO, Rhino, Moose, and Steve Macklin. Damn. So PCO's on the way out. It's one of his last matches on the way out before he goes. I'm wondering where he's going to go. Will Ospreay coming in to take on Speedball Mike Bailey. That is just a feature match I'm just looking forward to. Chris Sabin and Kenta. That'll be fun for the X Division title. Trinity Mickey James. Knockouts World title. That'll be good. And Alex Shelley, Josh Alexander. I'm curious of what they do. If they find a way to put Josh back on with the belt. Which I hope they do. I mean, listen, nothing against Alex Shelley. But if we can see Josh Alexander back on that belt, yes. Yes, absolutely. Would love to see that. MLW Slaughterhouse, which will be the 2300 Arena. They just love running themselves there. And a bunch of matches already been announced. Love Doug against Ichiban. Mike Cardona against a mystery opponent. TR James and Notorious Mimi in featherweight action. Tracy Williams and Griffin McCoy. And Jay Bougie against Brett Ryan Gosselin. And then you got the Beaumaye Fight Club's Mr. Thomas and O'Shea Edwards against the main event, Jay Lyon and Midas Black. Then we have what looks like it's going to be on the main card. Oh, we see. Okay. So the matches I just mentioned before, those are future Fusion broadcast matches. So they will all be set up for Fusion tapings after that. In the main card, Delmi Exo against the Phantom Challenger for the MLW World Women's Featherweight Championship. Second Group Crew, Mance Warner, Matthew Justice against the Callings. Cannonball in town. By the way, Cannonball, big guy, man. The Court Bauer is not afraid of seeing these big hosses come out there. When you think about Heavyweight Hustle Calvin Tankman and Juicy Finale, like he really does not mind getting those big hosses out there, like with their guts just hanging almost to the ring floor. The ring mat. He doesn't mind getting those guys out there. He really doesn't. But then again, he also has Microman going out there to wrestle too, so like it doesn't matter to him. And then Ricochet Page. Oh, by the way, Chamber of Horrors match for the other match with Second Greer Crew, The Calling, and the World Titan Fighter Federation. So we don't know who Mr. St. Laurent's going to bring out with Matt Cardona to accompany him for that match. Ricochet Page, One Call Manders, Spin the Wheel, make the deal for the MLW National Openweight Championship. Akira and Rocky Romero being accompanied by Selena De La Renta for two matches. Winner takes all. Akira, the MLW World Middleweight Champion, and Rocky Romero is the NWA World Historic Welterweight Champion. And Minoru Suzuki against Jacob Fatu in a singles match. Alex Kane and David Way Smith for the MLW World Heavyweight title. I got to bring this up too. This is important. NWA making an important announcement this week. I can't go ahead and get off the air without saying this, but this is a very interesting story. I like it. And here's what we got. Billy Corgan, William Patrick Corgan, and the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, they're bringing back the territory system. I love this announcement. I love it. Exodus Pro, which is part of the EC3, which is EC3's run promotion before you had the Control Your Narrative promotion. EC3 has this promotion now. Runs out of Cleveland. It's now being identified as the new first ever NWA affiliate of the modern era. The Lightning era, as we want to call it. So now Exodus will be called NWA Exodus Pro Midwest. And in the press release, William Patrick Corgan makes the point about this. He's announced the revival of the promotion's territorial system, a cherished tradition for the NWA, harkening back to the roots of professional wrestling and the Alliance's formation 75 years ago. So, Billy Corgan makes the point that we are returning to the collaboration that defined the NWA, embracing a model that not only honors our rich history, but also propels us into a future of young stars. This is the move they needed to do right here to get young stars in, because trying to go and go through other means wasn't going to go well. But doing the territory system and having NWA's champion and all these different rosters, you're going to just build up through the indies a lot of other promotions. And for those that are going to be the franchise are going to be put under the NWA banner, I love it. I love that. So right now, EC3 is the men's heavyweight champion, recognized by the NWA. The collaboration not only signifies a mutual partnership, but also symbolizes a shared commitment to the growth and evolution of professional wrestling. And EC3 says, I'm honored to lead NWA Exodus Pro Midwest into this new chapter. I've long sought a way to create a platform for the opportunity for up-and-coming talent to tell their story. With the WPC and the NWA, I have the right partner with wrestling's most important legacy. To have the NWA's brand create shows, cultivate talent, especially in the Midwest, is something I'm incredibly passionate about. Now, the inaugural celebration of the historic affiliation will be marked by NWA Presents Samhain on October 28th. So in a couple weeks, we'll have that. And that's going to be great. And I'm curious as to what other indie feds will be a part of the new NWA affiliation, recreating the National Wrestling Alliance, of which there were a lot of great territories that were a part of this. One we just mentioned, World Class Championship Wrestling, was affiliated to the NWA in some ways, and across the country. So imagine what they decided to do to create this here and get the NWA affiliation in play, without having to go and do any affiliations with other organizations. I love that. So if somebody really comes into the woodwork in these other indie promotions, then Billy Corgan's going to have the first right to bring them on to go against his stars in the NWA, the main NWA product. This is incredible news, and I tip my hat to Billy Corgan for doing this. I love this move, and I hope the best for it, because they really could use the star power. Use more new stars, no matter what. Let's just get them out there. Let's see what there is. And EC3 doing the part of having his own promotion, I love that. I'd like to see who else decides to go on board. So we're going to keep an eye on this. Let's see who else decides to do the same thing. I hope it's a lot more. I really do. That's the show for tonight. Love it, love it, love it. We're all done. Thanks for listening to the program. Find the show at kingofpodcasts.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's where you also find the programming. And more importantly, I just hope you'll go ahead and come back and join me next week. I will go ahead and do some coverage, obviously, for Bound for Glory next week. And we'll keep an eye on what's going on right now with wrestling in general. And then we'll also talk about Slaughterhouse probably next week on the program. I won't do a post show for it, most likely. But come back next week anyway for another Wrestling Gets Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.